Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of NCOPD Live, hosted by yours truly, Staff Sergeant Hicks. Hashtag the professional SGL coming at you live from Fort Lee, Virginia. Listen, we got the special guests in the building. None other than the one and only First Sergeant Sylvester Jenkins III. How you doing today?
I'm outstanding, man. Blessed, grateful to be here, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
So first and foremost, man, I appreciate you accepting the opportunity, coming onto the show, coming onto the platform. So before we even get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm First Sergeant Jenkins, originally from Columbus, Georgia. Currently stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, assigned to the 594th Transportation Company, Ghost Riders. 91 Zulu by trade, Go Ordnance. 21 years of military service, married, 4 kids. Currently in transition of retirement.
So hold up, let's rewind. 91 Zulu, Go Ordnance.
Go Ordnance.
In a transportation company as a first sergeant.
Yep.
Multifunctional non-commissioned officer, right?
Absolutely.
So how was that for you when you first went to a transportation company? How did that work out for you?
So I'll be honest with you, man. It was a love-hate relationship initially. I love just the fact of being in charge of soldiers. It's always a blessing to lead. But then at the same time, when it came down to just the actual, things that were going on dealing with transportation, the logistics behind it and everything else, I was in left field without a catcher's mitt. I was honestly still learning. I had to make myself vulnerable when it came down to it. I relied heavy on my leaders, my truck master, my platoon sergeant. Without them, I absolutely wouldn't have been able to make it or gain any competency when it came down to running the transportation unit in the whole. So I can truly say that initially starting out, it was a rocky road. And I was to the point where I felt somewhat incompetent just due to the fact that me as a senior leader should already have this baseline, but it wasn't something that I was commonly doing. So I just had to make myself vulnerable and just understand and just let my soldiers know, my NCOs know that, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn. I had to remain coachable and just get out there and learn.
Yeah. So you embody that initiative that the Army says we need multifunctional non-commissioned officers. So just because you are 91 series by trade, hey, if I need to put you in this slot over here in the transportation company,
right,
I need you to make it happen.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There you have it. 91 by trade, actually first owner of a transportation company. So first on, so check this out. So I have something that I have on NCOPD called Quick and 60. I know you probably wasn't knowing about this, but I have a series of questions I'm going to ask you, and you have to answer them in 60 questions. It's 10 questions. Nobody has gotten it, that anybody that came on to the show. So do you think you're up for the challenge?
Bring it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite color?
Red.
NFL team?
Falcons.
NBA team?
Hawks.
Favorite dish?
Smothered pork chops.
Duty location?
Fort Campbell.
Favorite duty position?
First sergeant.
Who's your favorite mentor?
It's a long list, man. I'll be on here for all day.
Okay. Favorite Army value?
Selfless service.
Who's your favorite author?
I had to say John Maxwell.
John Maxwell. Favorite hobby?
Writing books.
And if you had to pick, what's your favorite vacation spot?
Hawaii.
Whoa. 41 seconds. Sorry. I would tell you this. You are the first person to ever come on the NCOPD Live and actually get all questions within 60 seconds. So everybody can see it. 41 seconds to be 41.33 seconds to be exact. So if I had a coin, I'd give you a coin.
For real? Okay. Hey.
So first one, I want to introduce this to everybody. This is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So First Sergeant is the author of this book called A Quick Cure to Successful Leadership. I want to hold this up for a little bit. A Quick Cure to Successful Leadership. It is a great read. I ask that you go and read it. So first of all, when I first read this book, I noticed in your dedication that you dedicated this book to your mom. Was your mom prior service?
No, she wasn't prior service, but she was the first example that I seen of a leader. I grew up in a single parent home. Roughly me and my siblings. I have 2 other siblings growing up in the same household, but my mother, she just provided that love, that nourishment. She provided what I called in the book. That was a chapter in the book that I provided called when it came down to speaking about emotional intelligence. I spoke about an acronym called ENERGY. Mm-hmm. And, it stands for encouragement, never lie, recognition, recognition, gratitude, your love, and then also when it comes down to I forgot the engagement. Engagement.
Yeah. Okay. So your mom inspired you to write this book.
My mother inspired me to write the book.
Wow. And she was never prior service?
She was never prior service, but she always acted like she was a drill sergeant whenever we were in her household.
Okay. Wow. Well, so shout out. What's your mom's first name?
Rita.
So shout out to Miss Rita. So I read the book. So I'm the type of person, I'm the type of leader that whenever I invite somebody on, they'll give me some type of literature to read about themselves, whether it's a bio or anything. I like to read it before I come into it. So when I first got to chapter 1, you talked about becoming a leader.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts that you would like to share to the viewers about becoming or how to become a leader?
Okay, so I know some people have their thoughts when it comes down to leaders being either born, but I'm a true believer that anybody can learn to become a leader. I think that everybody, if you're a human being, that you have leadership trait somewhere within you, and that you just need to be, the purpose need to just be brought out. You just need to find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you're able to fulfill that requirement as becoming a leader. Now, some of the things that I did, because I didn't grow up, I didn't come through the ranks on a straight and narrow. I had trials, I had tribulations, I had roadblocks, I had ran into a lot of issues throughout my time span of becoming a leader. I think I had already roughly about 8 years in the military prior to me really understanding and learning what it was to be a leader. And it was just taking the opportunity to actually read books, find mentors, and actually just be engaged in when it comes down to doing your researches and understanding and knowing what leaders are, what they do, how they engage, and everything else when it comes down to it.
Okay. So in that chapter, you highlighted the word discipline.
Absolutely. I spoke about the 3D effect.
Mm-hmm.
3D effect, which is what I consider to be if you want to stand out amongst your peers. Like anytime that you go to the movies, everybody want to see that movie in 3D. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to being 3-dimensional, when it comes down to being determined, dedicated, and disciplined behind what you do in order to put yourself in that 3-dimensional realm in order to become a leader. Because you'll stand out amongst your peers if you do those 3 things. The dedication in order to do the research, to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Self-care is self-love. To make sure that the determination, if you find a goal that you have for yourself, whenever it comes down to it, I want to be a leader. What do I need to do to become a leader? Outline it, write it down, make the vision plain. Once you make the vision plain, just keep on walking in that stride in order to become that leader. Remain dedicated to it. And then that determination or that discipline, oh man, that discipline go too far. Mm-hmm. All right, once you become disciplined behind your action, it'll just become a common nature. It just become a common flow. You can't go outside of it. All right, because that self-discipline, that self-care, that self-love. All right, when you have that discipline to do the hard right instead of the easy wrong, when you take the time, I will tell you this right now, the price of discipline is easier than the pain of regret. Because down the line, you'll find yourself regretting the things that you didn't do or didn't have the discipline to do. That's like right now dealing with us being confined or having this time to ourselves. You should be engaging in self-development. You should be engaging in self-improvement. You should be finding things to help yourself become better, because when you become better, the more say the people around you could become better as a leader.
Okay. So throughout your career, what are some things or some experiences that you've encountered that made you determined or even more dedicated that you would like to speak on and share with the followers?
Well, I want to say this. Like I said before, I didn't come up the model soldier. I didn't come in the military on the straight and narrow. I had my hiccups. I received, judicial punishment. I received Article 15. I was late for formations. I had, correction needed in order to get to where I need to be. But when I became a AIT platoon sergeant, and I received a group of soldiers, a group of people under my charge, and when I did my first graduation, and they told me, it was like, "You're the best thing I ever seen," or you've been like a father figure to me, or you've been I was doing this until I met you. You just had such a effect on me. You influenced me to become better. And when they told me that, I was like, man, I thought, I'm nobody. I thought that like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I just assumed myself to be just a manager. I assumed myself to be that person to just do my part. I assumed myself to be just that individual who felt as though, you do the job, get it done, and then you go on about your way. But when it came down to experiencing and doing that job, I just felt as though it can't be the blind leading the blind. I had to improve myself in order to continue to fulfill this requirement that's been bestowed upon me.
Okay.
The obligation that I've been given.
So you said something, the key word that brings me to chapter 2.
Okay.
What is the biggest influence that someone has had over you within your career? And what is the biggest influence that someone has told you that you have had on them within their career?
Oh wow! So the biggest influence that I had on me, somebody told me that when it came down to it, when I had my flaws, when I fell short of a lot of things that I experienced, I had somebody come to me. It was a chief warrant officer. He was a CW2. He came to me. He was my maintenance tech. He came to me. I was just a PFC. I just got received the Article 15. But I just received my Article 15. Was going on extra duty. He pulled me to the side. He said, "Hey Jenkins, come here. I want to let you know something." He said, "Although you had these setbacks, although you had this issue that occurred, realize you made a mistake. Once you realize and take responsibility for your actions, then you can continue to move forward." Because for a minute there, I was pointing fingers at other people for my mistakes instead of actually accepting responsibility for my actions. And once I accepted responsibility for my actions, I chose to do better for myself because I seen potential in myself. Because it was told to me that I had potential to be great. And nobody ever really told me outside of my mother that I had the potential to be great. And then think about that one person that you never want to let down. When he told me that, I never wanted to let my mother down. So when he said, "Hey, think about that one person that you never want to let down and just continue to put your best foot forward."
Okay.
I thought about my mother and just kept moving forward.
And what is the biggest influence that someone has came to you and told you that you had an influence on them as well?
So I never I grew up in a single parent home, as I stated before. Initially, growing up in a single parent home, just never having that father figure in my life as such. The closest thing I had was my older brother and my grandfather. But in lieu of that, I had soldiers that was coming to me telling me that I was a father figure to them, that I had gave them the impression to be great, that to be better than where they was at. And when they told me that, I was like, man, I did not have the blueprint. I did not know the first thing to being a father. I had no clue or idea when it came down to what they had told me as far as what they was, what they had said I had been to them. So it was like, man, it was like it was a blessing in my eyes. It was like, wow, I just had to get on my knees and pray about it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. So I would say this for like one of the biggest influential people in my life is, and those that are close in my circle know, when I speak of my parents,
right?
I speak of my grandparents. They raised me since I was a kid, and this is no slight to my biological father, who's a pastor,
right?
And my biological mother. They separated at an early age, and my grandparents were the biggest influence in my career. Like me being a man, being a person, being a father. So I can relate to the fact that when I first came into the military, I believe that my parents didn't believe I was coming. They didn't believe I was going. They were like, "Oh, you're not going to the military." And I was like, "I'm letting y'all know on December 5th, my recruiter's coming to pick me up, and I'm going to the military." And that morning, I came downstairs. I had my bags packed. My recruiter came, on Henderson. I'll never forget him. And it was like 5:15 in the morning. I knocked on my grandparents' door. I said, "Hey, well, y'all, I'm about to go," because I was already in the reserves and I went active duty.
Okay.
"Well, y'all, I'm about to go." And they was like, "Where you going?" I said, "Mom, Dad, I'm going off active duty. I'm going to the military," because I wasn't meeting up to par of what they had instilled in me.
Right.
So I said to myself that I wanted to leave home and become a man, so when I come back, I could gain that respect of what I knew my parents instilled in me. So when I went to Fort Hood, my first duty station, I always related back to my grandfather, how I saw my dad being a fighter, and I didn't want to let him down. And I said, whenever I left this time, I said I wasn't coming back unless I was coming to visit. But I said I wasn't coming back. So they were so influential on me that it drove me and made me determined that I was not going to fail in the military. I was not going to come back home. I was going to make this work.
Absolutely.
And so I definitely agree with you when you talk about influential people. So the biggest influential people that had a big influence on me right now is my parents. They're so influential on me. So in my house, I only have 2 pictures that are displayed in my house, and it's my grandparents and my granddaughter.
Oh wow!
I don't even have my children displayed in my house, but my grandparents, my parents,
right?
Those were the biggest influential people that I've had in my career. Because what you see now is a total package of a lot of people that I've met in the military. That my biological father instilled some stuff in me. You can't go wrong by being a PK.
Right.
They say preacher kids are the worst ones. Listen, hello, I was one of them. But my grandparents were that foundation that I needed to be determined and be dedicated and remain. Like you, I had some hiccups too, and I met some influential people in my career. When I got off the wrong track, they were able to steer me back on. So I believe that influence is a big part of being a leader. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a key essential to being a leader. You got to have that influence.
Yeah, I totally agree. So in chapter 3, this is something big because the Army talks about this a lot. And I don't believe NCOs in particular really grasp the concept. So I want you to talk about this. Servant leadership.
Right. Absolutely.
Talk about it. Servant leadership.
So servant leadership. So when it comes down to servant leadership, man, like it's not about you being in charge, but the people in your charge. So when it comes down to being a servant leader, I had wrote on my my whiteboard during this last deployment I had in Kuwait. I wrote on my whiteboard, "It's not about you," because sometimes we need a reminder. We're not always perfect as leaders. So when I came into my office, I seen that it's not about you. And I knew without the leaders that I had up under me, the NCOs, the soldiers, I wouldn't be successful at anything that I do. So a lot of times when it comes down to being that servant leader, you have to get out there and recognize those individuals in order to let them know that you appreciate what they do. Because a lot of times us as leaders, we stand in the background, we get behind our desk and we just get occupied with everything that we have going on, trying to fulfill the requirement for higher echelon. And we forget about the people that's up under us who actually get out there and work, that do the grind and everything else. Because without them, we wouldn't be able to work. I can't see myself going out there and pulling missions left and right when it came down to driving them trucks. I couldn't see myself going out there and doing the PMCS on all the equipment that we had when it came down to it. So in order to be successful, you have to be a servant leader and get out there and let them people know that you appreciate everything they do. Because without them, you wouldn't be who you are.
Okay. So I got to back up a little bit before we continue on servant leadership. So Command Sergeant Major Halliburton asked earlier, what do you think the model soldier is? Who is the model soldier?
The model soldier. So I think that's the all-around, soldier. You got to be like have a piece of everything. You just can't be good at just PT and not be good at when it comes down to the technical portion too. You can't just be good at just memorizing or knowing, certain things. You just can't be professional without having. You got to have all qualities. You got to have everything when it comes down to it. You just have to. You might not be strong in all areas, but just to be well-rounded in those areas, to have like a conscience of what it is to be the soldier, the model soldier in those areas, as far as the competencies, having the right character, and just having just keeping those key values in mind when it comes down to the Army values. I think if you do those things, you can surely, be well-rounded behind. I think the model soldier is a well-rounded soldier, not just, strong in certain areas.
Okay. Total soldier concept.
Yeah, total soldier concept.
So I see he asked other questions, so I'm gonna post see this one right here. So Staff Sergeant Bennett wants to ask you, as a staff sergeant looking to one day become a first sergeant.
Right.
I believe a first sergeant should be able to influence not only your subordinates, but your peers, leaders, and leaders. Peer leaders and leaders. The stronger your team are mentally, physically, and emotionally, the stronger your organization will be, and your influence will multiply and expand up and down and outward. You want to comment?
Yeah, I think that's to be honest with you, I think that's absolutely true. I think just the way you carry yourself in particular. So things I say you inspire, you impact, and you influence people in order to become better, whatever they do. Not just your subordinates at the lowest level, but the higher level too. And I think just by you carrying yourself in a certain way and remaining professional at all times and going about everything that you need to do, you can always influence other people, because it's a difference between people that you're comfortable with and people that you don't know how to take. Certain people that you're comfortable with, you'll go at them any kind of way. You'll approach them in any kind of way. But people that you normally have respect for, people that you normally don't want to fail, people that you normally have a lot of that you see as an example of what you want to be, or see as an example of what you're striving to be, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna straighten up, you're gonna tighten up. Because I know people, a lot of people that I had under my charge, they not only respected me because of my rank, but who I was as a person.
Mm.
So when it came down to that influenced a lot, and it impacted them and inspired them to become what they were.
Okay. So Command Sergeant Major Halliburton also said, as a first sergeant, where do you feel your influence must be?
So as a first sergeant, my influence, I feel as though my influence should just be overall everywhere I go. I feel I should be able to influence everywhere I go. So I feel like I should be able to influence down to the lowest level. I feel I should be able to influence to any echelon that's around me, higher echelon that's around me. So everything that I do, I'm the role model. I'm the example. what, I'm portraying myself as far as what should be portrayed as far as being the leader or the person in charge of the organization when it comes down to my position and who I am.
Okay. So your influence is not limited.
No, it's not limited to just my organization. It's like expanded.
Okay. So is it true? Do you think that your influence should be contagious?
Absolutely. I think my influence should be contagious. Like I said just before, when it comes down to just people coming around you, like certain people, like it was like back in the day coming through the ranks, whenever you were doing command maintenance and you see Sergeant Major go, oh, that goes Sergeant Major. Everybody like scatter like roaches when the lights cut on. But when it come down to it, like you knew you had to tighten up whenever it came down to it. I don't want people, saying to have to tighten up, but I want them to understand that, like, hey, I want them to be great. So when people see me or I approach them, they know I care. They know that I want better for them. They know I'm trying to see them become great. It's not about fear. It's about empower.
So I reminded of a story. So I've said this before. So it's my grandfather, my dad was, he was a pastor and he was this stern figure. Like, he was just, and whenever he came home, whenever Pop wasn't home, it was a different atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah. Mom, grandma was downstairs cooking pies and humming old spirits, doing that. But when Pop came in the house, like you would know, like the demeanor of people would change because that level of it wasn't a fear to fear him, but it was that fear of reverence.
Right.
Who he was.
Right. Absolutely.
And he was in the building.
Right.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm talking about right there.
He's also said, my second question is, how did you balance writing a book, leading a company, and balancing your family time?
So when it came down to writing the book, I took my personal time. It was like a hobby. It became a hobby for me in order to do it. When it came to running the company, I empowered, my platoon sergeants. Normally, I looked at it as I controlled mainly, or spoke with 3 people: my platoon sergeants, first platoon, second platoon, third platoon, and my truck master. So as far as when it came down to the company, I trust but verified when it came down to everything that was going on in my organization. So I made sure that the wheel still turning, but at the same time, I stood back and empowered them in order to become or set themselves up for success when it came down to just trusting them to make sure everything went as it should. And then with my family, oh man, so kids was in school during during the time. And then also whenever I came home, I wait till they go to sleep. Sometimes you got to get that midnight, burn that midnight oil. They go to bed at 9 o'clock, spend some time with mama roughly till about 10:30, and then 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock midnight, and I'm punching keys.
So I want to ask you a question. So I just thought about this. Servant leadership.
Absolutely.
How big is sacrifice when it comes to servant leadership?
Sacrifice is huge when it comes down to servant leadership, in my opinion, because like I said before, it's not about you. So sometimes you're not going to always get your just dues when it comes down to it. You're not always going to benefit from providing that leadership. But I think you will benefit in the long run once you sacrifice that time, that energy, once you give, once you put all that stuff into play. And then the people that you notice that you change, they will start to come around and work more, work harder, or give all they got because they know that you believe in them. Without actually taking that time or putting in that energy or putting in that work to show them that you actually care about them. Because I think a lot of times soldiers feel as though, us as senior leaders don't care about them, which that's not the case. Sometimes we can get caught up in doing other things just because of the tempo of the organization. And sometimes we just might not be able to get out there like we normally could when we was out there in the platoon sergeant position, squad leader position, team leader position, things of that nature. But as we slowly move through the ranks, we just got to remember, put it on the calendar if you have to, put a reminder in your phone, Just put it on your Outlook if need be. At least, once or twice a week, get down to the motor pool, check those guys out, see how things going with them. Take the opportunity to recognize soldiers, shake a hand, tell them you appreciate them, ask them how their family doing. Actually, take the time to get to know them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Juan Hernandez has a question. Well, he actually has 3 questions.
Okay.
The first question is, do you think some senior NCOs have lost their technical knowledge?
Yeah, I think I won't say that some senior NCOs. I think it's a choice. If you don't use it, you lose it. And a lot of times when we get these assignments or we get these positions, it takes us away from continuing to remember those technical skills that we start coming through the ranks with, because certain positions calls for other requirements that prevents us from keeping that technical knowledge. So it's up to us as a senior leader or to continue to stay engaged in that stuff, and that's part of having that selfless service too. Because if we want to train the next group of leaders, we have to be technical when it comes down to applying that. I think the NCO Creed said it best: tactically and technically proficient behind what we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. His second question is, what do you think officers need from us as NCOs?
I think officers need grooming too, especially those second and first lieutenants, some captains. I think at all levels, I think we got to be that buffer. I think sometimes I see it as an entrepreneur and a manager. Sometimes you can see the officers as the entrepreneur, come up with all these great ideas of what we can do for the company in order for it to be great, in order for it to run like a well-oiled machine. But then you got to have that manager in place in order to make sure that, hey, we set some realistic aspects, or we think logical when it comes down to a lot of these things, because we've been in the dirt, we've been in the trenches, and we've seen coming through the ranks as far as like how we should actually move or flow when it comes down to running the organization.
Okay. And his last question is, what do you think, what's the balance for the senior non-commissioned officer?
I think the balance for a senior non-commissioned officer is roughly about 25% of everything you do. I think I have a expansion level when it comes down to it. You give 20, in order to make sure that you stay on all levels, 25% goes to my family, 25% goes to my organization, 25% goes to myself, and then 25% goes into just improving, certain technical or tactical skills that I might need in order to remain successful in whatever position that I'm in.
Okay. Do you know Noah Lucas?
Oh yeah, I know Lucas. Lucas is one of my NCOs.
He said, that's my first sergeant.
Yeah, that's one of my NCOs.
Okay. So Lopez says his influence is not limited. He should be able to reach and influence everyone in his organization and beyond.
Absolutely.
At his level, him being a first sergeant should be with the platoon sergeant. I totally agree. At that level, that you are also able and capable of influence on and be outside your organization.
Absolutely.
Chapter 4. Now, we just talked about servant leadership. And from servant leadership, you went to self-leadership. Now, I'm totally interested about this one.
Self-leadership, man. Like, hey, self-leadership goes a long way, man. You can't help nobody if you can't help yourself. If you're not good, nobody else will be good. Like I continue to tell people all the time, man, even Superman had to be Clark Kent. So when it came down to, even Superman had to be Clark Kent. You can't save the world all the time, man. So, absolutely, man. So you have to be human. You have to be vulnerable. You have to take care of yourself. When it comes down to taking care of yourself, you're able to go out there and fulfill the requirements needed in order to help other people grow. You're able to go out there and fulfill the requirements of helping people, empowering others in order for them to get to where they need to be, or where you see them growing, or fulfill that purpose that they have. And without doing that, you're filling an empty purpose. You're just filling an empty bucket.
Okay. So I'm gonna read a quote here. So for anybody that's just checking in, So we have First Sergeant Sylvester Jenkins III, and he's the author of A Quick Cure to Successful Leadership. This is the book that we're talking about. So I want to quote something that I highlighted here in chapter 4 that is coming from you.
Okay.
So you said, great leadership starts with self-leadership.
Absolutely.
One of the most important things you will ever do as a leader is to invest in yourself. You cannot fully engage your team or organization to be successful if this does not occur. Explain, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. So say like you have soldiers that like have issues going on in their personal life. Like if they don't take the time to get the help they need, they can never be an asset to the organization. One of the main things I always wanted to be was an asset to my team or my organization. And I knew if I wasn't 100% and for my personal life or just in general become behind when it came down to working, I couldn't fulfill the requirements needed of me in order to be that asset. All right. The key is to be essential as far as who or wherever you're working at. And you cannot be that individual if you're not 100%. So I know a lot of people, they shy away from going to behavioral health. Behavioral health is well needed for anybody. I think I go to behavioral health. I go to behavioral health because I can't always sit here and act like I'm the perfect role model or everything else. I'm human just like anybody else. So when it comes down to getting the assistance that I need in order to continue functioning so I can remain the senior leader of my organization and continue to influence people, I go to behavioral health. When it comes down to situations that I might run into dealing with my personal life at home, I have those situations too. So I have to make myself vulnerable to certain people, and that comes with trust. You just can't, I know you can't just tell anybody your information, but then at the same time, you have to have those people, especially, you know, those ones that you feel that have potential to be successful, or that you want to mentor, or that you feel like are ready for the next level of responsibility. You have to entrust in somebody in order to let them know, even when it comes down to your senior leadership, your sergeant majors, your commanders, your lieutenants, your platoon sergeant. You have to entrust in these people in order to get help. Closed mouths don't get fed. That's just plain and simple. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
So in this chapter, you talked about, you gave an illustration about Tom Brady.
Oh, absolutely.
Six-time champion. So I know you ain't say you was a Patriots fan.
I'm not a Patriots fan, man. Actually, I'm a Falcons fan. So, you know, I'm still sick about that whole Super Bowl whenever it came down to it. But I had to recognize what's real. I mean, it's absolutely the truth. I'm totally biased when it comes down to it. Tom Brady, he is a great quarterback when it comes down to his position. And just to know where he came from as far as when he got picked in the draft, and then to go to where he is right now, it took a lot of self-discipline, self-love, self-leadership in order to get to that position. He didn't sit there and just allow it to come to him. He went and got it. He didn't sit there and just say and wait till the next person, you know, gave it to him. He seen his opportunity and he took it. He ran with it. And a lot, you might run into people sometimes where it just they expect you to give it to them. They say, oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I don't see myself doing this, or I don't see myself doing that. What are you doing to put yourself in that position? What are you doing in order to improve yourself, in order to show people that you want it? You want it. You know, I always had this quote whenever I was in front of my formation. I say, everybody want to be a hero till it's time to do hero stuff. So it came down to it, like you can do that, you can do the bare minimum, but you'll receive the bare minimum when it comes down to certain things that you're looking for in life.
I like that. I like that. So Son Lopez asks, where can we find the book?
So you can find the book on Amazon. It's on ebook or paperback, and they on sale for the ebook is $2.99 and the actual paperback is $9.99.
Okay, so I got mine off of Amazon. So you know what I need to do? I need to send this to you. I want an autograph copy.
Oh, absolutely. You send it to me, man. After this, we can I can shoot you my address, and then you can go ahead and send it to me our address. I mean,
autograph copy. Okay, so this chapter here struck me, chapter 5, because even as a leader, I never thought about this until I read it. You said emotional intelligence. So I've never thought about emotional intelligence. Explain a little bit about what you meant by emotional intelligence.
So something that I think, I say we as I think a lot of leaders or people in general that we don't get a lot of information on or haven't known about is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is huge when it comes down to self-awareness, self-regulation, just to know how to approach certain things. And a lot of times, we get hot-headed. We stand back and just watch things move. But that emotional intelligence will put you in the right position in order to approach certain things when it comes down to your team, individuals, or just your thought process in general. And a lot of times we just need to just take a step back, just do a little self-regulation when it comes down to how we communicate to people. And I think once we do that, I think the effect of how they react to it would be totally different. I think I put in there talking about the thermostat, as far as how you as the leader need to be that thermostat and have it on the right temperature. Because if you go in there hot, angry, mad, screaming, yelling, and hollering, your soldier will be reluctant to move. They will be standoffish. They wouldn't want to. They'll want to talk to IG or do an open door policy with first sergeant or sergeant major. But if you go in there cold, passive, indecisive, or just not really, having a double standard. If you have a double standard, then when it comes down to your soldier, they were like, whatever. They'll just try to run over you. But if you go in there with the right temperature, setting the tone, going in there speaking, communicating effectively, just telling them exactly what needs to occur, having from point A to point B what needs to happen, then I think that everything will be executed properly how it should, and you'll get a better result behind your action. And that comes with emotional intelligence. Okay, if you don't know yourself or how you think, your thought process, then you won't know how to approach other people.
Okay. I like the illustration that you use as far as like the thermostat, and I've heard that before, but not in this likelihood. So just like with the times of season in our homes, we adjust our thermostat.
Right.
When it's winter, we have to adjust the thermostat to put the heater on.
Yeah.
And when it's summer, we adjust the thermostat, drop it down, and cut the AC on.
Right.
And I think that is truly inevitable for leaders to understand that, because not every unit or duty location that you go to is going to always be like your previous location.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell people, a lot of students that come sit in the class, the 88 November ALC course, is that you have to learn to adjust your leadership style.
Yep.
You're not changing who you are, but what works for you at 274 NCOPD as a movement supervisor and as a detachment sergeant, when I PCS support me as an instructor, that leadership style that I had as a detachment sergeant may not congregate or correlate to what I do here as an instructor. So I had to learn to adjust, as you say, the thermostat due to the temperature that was set here at the academy.
Right.
So Heath Bradshaw said, "Would you sign my book?"
Absolutely. That was one of my truck masters.
So he talked about the truck master in the beginning. He said
one of them.
Y'all were very influential.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, they were very knowledgeable, very competent behind their position. I never had to really worry about that area. It was awesome.
So Sergeant Kennedy says, and if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sorry. Says, I'm liking the book. Pass on the message. Sergeant Major Griffin says that's how people react to things. We was talking about emotional intelligence. And how should you approach? Okay, how should you approach your LT at the platoon level if you think there were in their way handling a situation if that method is not accomplishing the mission? How should you address that situation?
I think you should stay, remain in the channel, the NCO channel, depending on if you're the platoon sergeant. Let's say if you're the platoon sergeant, I think you should be able to have that communication with your lieutenant. I think y'all should build a relationship, because in the end, if you look at it, those command relationships are like a marriage, if you want to say, because we ain't gonna always agree with things. We gotta agree to disagree, but we gotta meet somewhere, because we gotta do what's best for our platoon overall. We gotta do what's best for our platoon overall. So if you're in a platoon, a platoon sergeant position, I would say actually have that one-on-one. And if that's not working out, then you just go to higher, speak with first sergeant, and then they'll have try to do something with you and the commander, or try to break it down to a level where we can all see eye to eye when it comes down to doing what's right for the platoon in general. If you're at the team leader position, or the platoon, squad leader position, then I think that's a communication y'all need to have with the platoon sergeant. Mainly, just keeping in that NCO channel in order to grant the opportunity to for those key leadership positions to fulfill the requirement of what they're supposed to do, in order to try and make sure that chain happens. Because if you're a team leader and you overstep your boundaries or overstep that channel when it comes down to it, your soldier will do the same thing.
Okay. So I got to read this. I got to read this comment. So Son Lopez also said, emotional intelligence comes down to two things: knowing yourself, your emotions, your icebergs, and your triggers. Sound like an MRT right there.
Right.
And getting to know others through listening.
Right.
We need to do better at sitting down and listening to our soldiers, finding out why it is that do certain things, and act certain ways. Listen. How important do you feel listening is important as being a successful leader?
Listening is very important, man. I think a lot of times it goes with effective communication. Part of effective communication is listening. Like, you cannot understand the person you're talking to if you're not listening to what they're saying or what they're bringing to your attention. If you're sitting here and if you're interpreting what they're saying as them just like being defensive behind what you're bringing to the table, instead of actually trying to analyze what they're bringing to you and trying to figure out the best method or the best way to approach it, that's just communication. It's not effective feedback. You're not providing them with the information needed. It's just not effective in any kind of way. So listening is very, very, very much needed. I think I spoke about that also in the book when I gave the description of my boys. So I got 3 sons, all of them ranging from different ages, from 7 up to 14. And when it comes down to it, I cannot approach all of them the same way. I tell them one thing, and all of them interpret it differently. Mm-hmm. So when it came down to ensuring that what I said got done, I know sometimes I need to take a step back and realize who am I talking to, and approach them in a manner where I know they'll understand what I'm telling them. So a lot of times you just can't, you have to listen. You just can't go your way and think it's going to get accomplished.
Okay, I like that. So Command Sergeant Major Love says, 2-part question here. What was your purpose or motivation to write the book?
So my purpose and motivation was to write the book was, so during my time frame, just being in the Army, I noticed there was like some leadership traits that was shortcomings that was in a lot of like the junior leaders that I had. Mm-hmm. So they always say, if you got a problem, you need to have a solution. Mm. So when it came down to it, I wanted to take the time to give back and try to build a legacy of leaders. So that was truly my motivation, in order to, I think over time, dealing with the war and everything else, that we sped up the process of making leaders. And a lot of people became cookie cutter when it came down to making those leaders. Mm-hmm. So I think this is an opportunity to actually try to have that, or give back to those people who don't have the time to actually sit down with their leaders. Because a lot of times when I was doing NCOPDs or trying to do training with my NCOs, they'd be on leave, they'd be off from duty, they'd be on mission. So it prevented me from having all my NCOs at one time. So writing this book, I think, provides the opportunity to give it out to all your NCOs, and then have a little NCOPD, a quick 15 minutes, quick 30 minutes. You tell them, hey, read chapter 1, and we'll discuss it after PT. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, get your insight real quick, and then just having them read that portion, you just, influence them to become better. Because I promise you, once they read certain areas, they'll be able to relate with it, or find something that they can that they want to take and use it whenever it comes down to their leadership skills.
Okay. Second part of that question is, how do you view our NCO Corps today, and what would you change?
So I think I commented a little bit on that just a minute ago when I was speaking about just the cookie cutting, as far as when it came down to some things dealing with the NCO Corps today. I think due to the fact of combat and that's been going on for X amount of years, we rushed the process when it came down to being a leader. Because what it took for me in order to, what I learned during the time frame of me going to, back in my day, PLDC, is not a requirement for BLC. So certain things got eliminated, and I think the foundation that we normally had kind of, we went away from it. So I think a lot of the NCOs today, it's more of a rush. Like they know exactly what they need to do in order to get promoted. But once they get promoted, we just expect them to know instead of trying to teach them what they need to know.
Okay. So I know the whole PLDC, BLC things. I know one of the first things that went away was winning.
Yeah.
And I didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, land there, like you asked an NCO, junior NCO nowadays, called an 8-digit coordinate. They couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and not everybody, so I don't want everybody to think that I'm speaking of everybody.
Right.
But if out of 10, if I was to give a professional estimate, any number is a tragedy. But I would say at least 30 to 40% couldn't plot on the map.
Right.
Or even tell you the colors what they represent on the map, or what each individual in the key, what that stands for, whether it's a ridge, a river, a bridge, or they can tell you what it is on the map, because we've gotten away from those basic traits as non-commissioned officers.
Right.
And I would say this to add on to Sergeant Major Love. So I don't believe that the NCO Corps is broken. We are the backbone of the Army. I feel that we may have a couple of slip discs. And just like any type of back injury, there's a physical therapy or some type of surgery to correct it. I think that the NCO Corps is getting better. We still got some ways to go. But we do have some areas within the backbone that I feel that it just needs some surgical procedures to make sure that we ensure that spine is in line with and is stable enough to hold up the Army or the body like we're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very much
so. In chapter 7, you talked about team building. And when building a team, I advise you to retain quality over quantity.
Yep.
I worked for a company where it was the other way around, and the culture was horrible. The morale was dry as the Mojave Desert. Shaking my head, but the process is really simple. Hire the right people, train them, and hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate?
Absolutely. So it's just like team building. Absolutely. Hire the right people, train them. The main key thing is to train them. If you do not train them, they cannot get to the point where they need to be in order to fulfill the requirements that you need of them. And then when it comes down to holding them accountable, that is something that at times that we deviate from. Counseling is very important. And sometimes a lot of people don't like to put stuff on paper. They give a slap on the wrist and keep it moving. Hey, don't let this happen again. but you need to put it in black and white. I used to tell my formation, hey, if it ain't in black and white, I don't believe the hype. So you absolutely need to counsel any individual. Or, I mean, regardless of the matter is, not all counseling needs to be has to be bad. Recognize those soldiers for the good things they do too. Put that in 4856. Don't just put the bad things that they do. Counseling is needed all the way around. When you sit down with them at the end of the month, make sure that you have outline everything that soldier did, because that soldier want to know what they need to do in order to improve, not just the basics. Hey, knock out some corresponding courses. You're doing real good. They want to know exactly what they did verbatim during that time frame with them working. And if they messed up in any kind of way, you have to let them know exactly what they need to do in order to become better.
Okay, so another question says, how do we communicate with different soldiers, but ensuring they don't get too comfortable? And how did you do it? How did you do it throughout your career?
Say that again.
How do you communicate with different soldiers, but ensuring they don't get too comfortable? And how did you do it throughout your career?
How did you communicate with different soldiers, but ensuring? Well, it's just how I carried myself. I carried myself in an aspect of where I wanted people to understand that of my position. Oh man, I lost light. I wanted them to understand my position and who I was. I didn't want them to deviate from anything that I had, and I always came professional at all times. So whenever I approached somebody, it wasn't in no manner that I assumed that I didn't try to joke with them. I didn't try to make sure that we was friends or anything like that. I kept it professional at all times in order for them to know exactly what we had going on. So to ensure that never changed, that's what I did. I had boundaries when it came down to some soldiers feeling that they can cross the line dealing with certain things. I corrected it on the spot. I did not let it become a habit. I didn't want it to become no double standard whenever it came down to those things. Sometimes people can let soldiers slip at the mouth and not correct it on the spot in front of everybody, so it'd be recognized and known that you're not the one to be played with or come at in that manner. And some people, get comfortable with how they approach you, which shouldn't happen.
Okay. So I want to give you an illustration. You're a basketball coach.
Okay.
And you're building a cohesive team.
Right.
And you have a total team roster of 12 individuals. Who's the most important player on the team?
The most important player on the team on my roster, 12, everybody important.
Okay.
And I say everybody is important because everybody has traits or a strong area in order to make everybody else better. So it's not just that one individual, because that one individual, they're a big inspiration or they can be a big influence to help impact the rest of the team. But when it comes down to everybody have a strong point, and those strong points need to be known. And you have to invest in those individuals on your team in order for them to become better. And I think the best route to take in doing that is to make sure that whenever you feel as though that one individual can come about in a way that can help the team, that they spread it across, and you just find out those key areas of those individuals. Sit down one-on-one or just pay attention to them at everything they do. You have to truly invest in your people on your team in order for them to become better.
Okay. So I asked that question because in the closing of that chapter, you did a quote. And you said, the strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team.
Yeah.
So your point guard, his or her number one job is to facilitate the offense.
Yeah.
And your shooting guard, he or she may be a smasher or with their own shot. And because you're not the point guard, you may be the defensive stopper. Your job is to take on the best player on the other opponent's team as number one defender. Or your job may be the rebound. But even though you're not the number one go-to player, your job or your role on the team is just as important as the first sergeant or the commander. or the platoon sergeant or lieutenant.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that. I would totally agree with that because it's not always about the rank. I always used to tell my soldiers like, hey, I told them just because I'm a first sergeant doesn't mean you can't approach me and let me know when I have a deficiency because I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I'll always try to uphold the standards. But in lieu of that, if I'm wrong somewhere down the line, be tactful about it, approach me and let me know. So therefore, I can make sure it doesn't happen again. I don't have no problem with being vulnerable and let it be known when I'm wrong.
Okay. So I remember I was watching the Rockets game. I can't tell you. I don't even know this player's name. I'm a Houston Rockets fan.
Okay. Okay. My son is too.
So this guy was on the bench, and whenever they came in and sat down on the bench during the timeout, he was always over there talking to the starters, like motivating them. But I've never seen this guy playing the game on garbage time, nothing. But when I think about it now, that was his role. If he felt like James Harden or Russell Westbrook or Clint Capella when he was on the Rockets team or TJ Tucker when they were playing a bad game, he would always be that one to go in and get him like, hey, come on, we got this. So even if you're on the bench,
right,
you're still as important
absolutely
as the people that get the playing time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in hindsight to that, just be ready to come off the bench when your number is called.
Yep. Hey, Tom Brady, man.
All right, so the final step at the top you talked about was goal setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most days nowadays when we have NCOs come to the academy, we ask like, hey, they don't have a goal set.
Right.
As a non-commissioned officer, to have successful leadership, or as any leader, why do you feel setting goals are important?
I think goals are important in general. It just gives you it's expecting more of yourself. Mm-hmm. It's it's putting things in perspective as far as who you can become compared to where you are. It's not being comfortable. It's not being stagnant. It's not being mediocre. And a lot of times, without making goals or setting plans and such, we can just remain stagnant and never get to a point that we need to be. And I think setting goals would just put you in that right position in order to continue to climb to reach your apex as far as becoming successful in any type of way. And without doing that, you just remain stagnant. Disturbing your comfort zone is part of the process of growing. And without setting goals, you can never disturb your comfort zone in order to grow.
Okay. Wow. I like that, disturbing your comfort zone. A lot of times we get complacent in particular situations of where we at, and we get comfortable with that. I think like right now with what's going on, our comfort zone is being disturbed. Learn to adapt and overcome certain environments or certain operational environments we talk about within the academy. So I like the way how you saw that as far as disturbing your comfort zone. We have another statement here saying, I believe we are missing passion and pride within our NCO Corps. How would you get after that? How would you light the fire within your NCOs and ensure they have passion and pride?
I'll be the example behind that passion and pride. I'm passionate when it comes down to leadership. I have pride when it comes down to being a non-commissioned officer. I truly have that influence when it comes down to ensuring that the people that are around me know that these are two things that I am very, adequate about. These are like those points where if you come around me, if we have conversation, it's going to be about leadership in some type of way. What are you doing to improve yourself to become better? What are you doing in order to get to that point of becoming the leader that you want to be? or that you need to be for this organization. It's just always going to be some type of conversation about that. And when it comes down to just being a non-commissioned officer in general, we got one of the greatest jobs in the world. We got one of the greatest jobs in the world. We influence people on a daily basis. We show people what right from wrong is. It's just like with your kids. You've been bestowed somebody else's kid, and you got to take this person and mold them into something greater than what they assume they are. You can mold the future sergeant major of the Army. Whenever I had soldiers, I always wanted to treat them because I know my kids, they might want to join the military one day. So I made sure any soldier that I had up under me, that I made sure I treated them with dignity and respect, because one day my kids will go come in, and then I know somewhere down the line, they go like, man, was your dad First Sergeant Jenkins? He was my first son, and then they go treat them the same way they was treated upon me. And I don't take that for granted when it comes down to my position and my role.
Man, so a lot of people know I say this a lot. They say, why do you do what you do? Like, why do you help people, and you're available to people, you mentor people? I say because I want to leave a legacy that if my kids decide to join the military, when they see their last name, they say, "Hey, do you know Dexter Hicks?"
Yep.
Like, yeah, that's my dad. You know what? Your dad was my instructor, or your dad was my detachment sergeant. And just based on how I treated them, they would be willing to take care of them out of gratitude because, hey, I know what your dad and your mom did, so I'm going to look out for you the same way that they did. And that's how you build that legacy that will continue to grow on when you influence them. And they remember you, that they'll pass that legacy on to the next individual.
Right.
So listen, First Sergeant. So this book, we talked about becoming a leader. We talked about influence. We talked about servant leadership and self-leadership. We talked about emotional intelligence, motivating your team, building your team, and setting goals. Listen, make sure you all go and pick this book up. It is on Amazon. You can order it. I got my copy. I'm going to be sending it back to First Sergeant to get it signed so I can have it. And it is definitely a great read for individuals that are looking how to be a successful leadership. And keep in mind, this is what worked for First Sergeant Jenkins. What his thoughts and admirations of what it was to being a successful leader. So, first of all, before we close, if you have any closing comments or anything you would like to say to the followers.
Yeah, I mean, the book is a quick and easy read, not something that you have to spend forever and a day on. It's relatable. It's spiritual. It has a spiritual foundation, and it's something that you can use during NCOPDs at all times. Something that you can use to build your leaders in your formation, whether they are sergeant all the way to a first sergeant. It's something that I truly felt that we need in order to hit that mark, in order to not miss a beat when it comes down to continuing the legacy of building leaders in the non-commissioned officer corps. So, I mean, like I said earlier, I really greatly appreciate this opportunity, Staff Sergeant Hicks, and I appreciate everything that you're doing as far as using this platform to spread the message and the word and keep everybody informed behind everything that's going on in the world today.
Okay. Well, so first one, I will tell you this. I definitely enjoyed the book. One of the greatest books I've read, and like you said, it's not even a quick read, so you ain't got to worry about spending hours and hours on reading the book. It's quick, clear, concise, and straight to the point. I definitely appreciate you accepting the invitation to come onto the platform. Once again, you were bound for time. I'm sure you could be with family right now. And then also, I don't take it lightly because you're in that process of retirement. And let's call a spade a spade. Some NCOs, when they get in retirement mode, man, I ain't got time for it. But you still found time to, while you're still in uniform, to come into the platform and still give that professional development to those that follow this page. And I know I can speak on behalf of them. I'm sure that they're grateful as well. So I definitely appreciate you being able to come on to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
I wish you well on your future endeavors, and we'll be talking to you soon, okay?
Okay, awesome, man. Sounds good.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is First Sergeant Jenkins. We will see you later, Tom.
All right, be blessed.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the one and only First Sergeant Sylvester Jenkins. Once again, Sylvester Jenkins III. Check out this book, A Quick Cure to Successful Leadership. You can find it on Amazon, or you can either find him on Global, Sylvester Jenkins III, First Sergeant. If you have any questions or comments, I should have asked him to put his, I'll text him and ask him to put his email address in the bottom if you would like to email him. But like I said, this is a great book. It's not that long. It's a quick read. It's quick, clear, and concise, and straight to the point. So before I get off, so I want to say this. I respect the opinions of those that come onto my page, that if I post something that you feel is controversial, and I didn't want to post this while my guest was on. I didn't want to talk about this while my guest was on the show. I believe as leaders that we should be able, respect is a two-way street. And if I post something that you do not agree with, or it's not within the line of your views, I respect your opinions. I respect everybody's comment that posts onto the page. I would ask that you respect my comments and the things that I post as well. I would never bash any leadership, any unit, nor will I bash any chain of command at the senior, any level. Will I bash any chain of command? So I would ask, and I'm going to ask, that if it's not in line with what you agree with, to keep your comments or your or those type of comments in the inbox, out of the NCOPD Live inbox. And like I said earlier, I respect everybody's opinion, and I believe we have to come to a place where we can agree to disagree. And I totally agree, or I affirm that as a leader, that we do not have to always share the same views or agree on certain or said topics. But I do not believe that it causes for anybody to inbox somebody or inbox the show and be disrespectful or leave disrespectful comments. So I would ask you, those individuals, to please refrain from doing that. If you feel that you have lost interest in the platform, I hold nobody here to make you be on the platform or follow the platform. You have that right. But I do ask that we respect not only the things that I post, or if it's not in line with what you post, or if somebody else posts something on a specific topic that I post, that you respect their views as well. So I did want to address that. But nevertheless, with that being said, listen, once again, A Quick Cure to Successful Leadership. And the book was quick to read. It's not a long book. And so we're getting ready to end NCOPD Live. But as always, before we end, if you see something wrong and you fail to do something about it, you have just created a new standard. And remember, at the end of the day, their issue is never with you, but their issue is with the standard. This has been yours truly, Staff Sergeant Hicks, #the professional SGL. We are signing off. Y'all have a good night.